should be order and prioritization with all areas of our lives. So if you're married with kids, which comes first, your husband or your kids? Before I get into all that, let me welcome you back to my channel. My name is Ayana, and this is Beyond Committed, where we talk about everything from life, faith, family, marriage, motherhood, and everything in between, and we take them beyond. If this is your first time here, welcome, and I'm so glad you stopped by. And to make sure you're not a stranger, make sure you press that subscribe button below and then turn your notifications so you don't miss a video. All right, now let's dive right in. Wife and a mother is two of the biggest blessings, and it's two of the hardest things we'll ever have to do. I mean, it takes a lot of work to be a wife. I remember when my husband and I first got married, I had no idea how much work marriage took. And then over time, through the years and through like different counseling and coaching in different marriage groups, I found things that worked for us and ways that I can pour into my husband and I can be poured into that work for us and help to strengthen and enrich our marriage. And then the kids happen. And then I'm like, I thought this wife life business was hard. This motherhood business is something else. And then trying to be both at the same time, it is overwhelming. It is out of this world hard at times. And then I realized that, okay, trying to give 100% to my marriage and 100% to my kids. And I'm like, I'm exhausted trying to do that. And then there was nothing left for me, and I'm trying to just balance it all in a way that makes sense for me. And sometimes I did not do that so well. And I realized, especially when my kids were younger, and even now at times, I put so much emphasis in the kids that it negatively affects my marriage. And that's when I realized that, okay, my priorities were out of whack. Yes, my kids are important, but it's not everything. And it's so important that as wives, we are prioritizing correctly and prioritizing our marriage first, because it's not just for the good of our marriage, but it's also for the good for our kids. And I found two reasons that it's so important for us to always keep in mind when we kind of get things out of whack and things get out of order, realizing that in marriage and kids, your husband has to come first. As wives, we have to remember that keeping our husbands and marriage a priority is God's design and God's plan. And it's something that it's easy to kind of lose in the midst of the busyness of life, especially with kids. But remember, in your vows, to become one and let no man separate. That includes your kids. Now, this does not mean your kids are less important. This doesn't mean they don't get your attention, your love, your care, your nurturing, because they're a blessing that God gave you, yes, but you should not prioritize that over your marriage. Your marriage is such a big part of you being a great mother, you being able to parent your children well when you have a healthy, nurturing, love, prioritized marriage. I know for my husband and I, this has not always been easy. And sometimes the things get out of order, especially when our kids were younger and like when we had the newborn twins. There was a whole lot of out of order in our house because we were just like surviving. We were like in survival mode. Those first 4 months of being home with newborn twins was, it was a doozy. And we survived, thank God. And they are now thriving and all the things, and they are such a blessing. But during that season, we were not prioritizing our marriage. And over time, it showed in not so good ways. And then we had to sit down and realize that, okay, yes, taking care of our kids is important. Yes, making sure they're cared for, loved, nurtured, and all that is important. But one of the most important things we can give our children is to have a healthy, cared for, prioritized marriage. So it's so important that, yes, there are different things that are going to happen in your life. Yes, your kids are going to need more of your attention during certain times and certain seasons, but that does not mean you don't prioritize your marriage accordingly. Yes, you may be up all night with the baby or, whatever the case may be, but does that mean you don't date? Does that mean you're not intentional about connecting? Does that mean you're not doing the things you need to do to make sure your marriage is cared for, make sure your husband's needs are met, making sure your needs are met so you can be the best wife you can. Remembering that, yes, your kids are a blessing and they're a product of your marriage, but that does not mean that the prioritization in your life should get out of whack just because they need you a little more in this moment or not. So as wives, it's always important for us to remember that, yes, our kids are a blessing and important, yes, but God's design for us and our marriage is to make sure we keep that a priority as well. Another reason why prioritizing our husband and marriage over our kids is important is because your kids don't say kids forever. I mean, one day they will go. Lord willing, you will train them up in the way they should go, and then they go. That's one of my favorite verses to tell my children. And they laugh every time. They're like, Mommy, am I going to have to? Yes, one day you should leave the house. One day you should start your own family. You should have your own husband, your own kids, your own all of these things. And if I'm cultivating that in them now, I have to show them what that looks like. I have to be an example of that. And in order to do that, I have to make sure I'm sustaining and prioritizing my marriage, because our kids grow and they change and their needs change. So if all of our focus is and our prioritization is on them, then as they start getting a little bit more independence, as they start going and doing more things, and as they start needing you less, then what is it for you that's left? And then what does your marriage look like if you've spent all these years focused on these little people who are now big people and sometimes bigger than you? I know one day my children will be taller than me, and I'm not looking forward to that, but it'll be okay. I'm gonna be confident in mine. But it's so important that as mothers and as wives, we realize that our kids are not gonna be kids forever. And it's the seasons that they go through and the way we love and care and all the memories we make is awesome and it's such a blessing, but it's not forever. They should grow and go. And you have to make sure that in the midst of them growing and one day going, that we are prioritizing our marriage, because you don't want to turn one day, the kids are gone, and then you're looking at your husband like, who is he? And he's looking at you like, who is she? And what are we going to do with this? And what is this anymore? So it's so important that we are mindful of that, realizing that our kids are a blessing, are important, and should take our intention and our focus, yes, but we have to make sure we keep our priorities in order, and make sure that our husband and marriage is prioritized correctly is a way for us to not only be great wives, but great moms as well. All right, that's it for today. And I want to know, what takes priority for you, your marriage or your kids? Let me know in the comment box below. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and then make sure you press the subscribe button and turn your notifications so you don't miss a video. All right, now until I see you again, bye.